everyone, and welcome again to one of our virtual events. I have with me today Lee Greenthaner, who's going to be streaming us live, and I have Warren Hart, CTC's astronomer, that is going to be giving us a talk on our May calendar and what you can see in the stars for May and all the constellations. Before we get started, make sure if you need attendance credit, you go to the library's website and find the word events and register. It's also great for if you're looking for a scholarship from the library. All right. Well, Warren, are you ready to get started with our May calendar?
I am. And in
Okay.
fact, we're going to start with the last week of April. There's a couple of things in there. So if you can bring up the calendar for everyone to see that, Cindy, would appreciate it.
All
And I'll
righty.
point out three things there for everyone. If you can see on the calendar the list there for April to the 25th, there you go, through the 30th. And I put on there, I'll put on each time that where the sun happens to be in which constellation. And it's currently, as you see there on Sunday, the 25th, it is currently in the constellation called Aries the Ram. And I've added another word to it. I call it an ecliptical constellation. For those of you that remember, we talked about the path of the sun through the sky, and here on Earth we map that out, and in the sky we call that the ecliptical line, if you will, the path, and that's where the sun is visible for us throughout the day. And it's also the only place in the sky where you would be able to see an eclipse of the sun. Now, remember a few days ago, we talked about the significant date of April the 8th. And in 3 years from now, that will be a Monday afternoon. And that's when we will have passing over us the first total solar eclipse that we've had here at this location in over 500 years. So we're keeping track on that. Now, the next thing you notice, it says that today at 10:31 this evening, you go outside and you will see a full moon. Now, I added the phrase underneath. It says, now the full moon after 10:31, it begins what is called the waning gibbous phase. Now we'll put that out. If anybody knows what waning gibbous means, and while you're doing that, let me mention that the full moon is a precise point and a place in the sky, and the full moon is at, for us here, 10:31 p.m. It's not a full moon phase. The full moon is a specific event. So soon as tonight after 10:31, it will begin a waning gibbous phase. Let me go on also. The next thing on tomorrow, Tuesday, April the 27th, of our 13 Perigee moons that are in April. And for those who remember, perigee means on the orbit of the moon. That's the time and the point when it is closest to us. The moon goes around us, of course, a full 360 degrees. It is an elliptical circle. It's not a perfect circle with one distance from us, one radius. There's a time when it is closest, and that is the perigee. And the way I remember it, I think of the word PER. I think that the moon is perilously close to us. And that helps me to remember, well, if that's the perigee, and you're going to see down here in a little bit that there is something called the apogee. So I'll let you figure out what that means about where the moon is in relation to us. So that is April through here. So now we're ready to take a look at May. And I have on there on Monday, a week from today, on the 3rd, in the morning, planet Saturn, it is at a point called West Quadrature. Oh, that's a long, big name. Anyway, all that means is in relation to from us to the sun, as the planet Saturn is 90 degrees west of us. Now, also when it's at West Quadrature, and I will get a diagram, a document, and I will send that to Cindy, and she'll have that available that you can refer to it because there's other points on there. Anyway, when any planet is at this point, that is a great time to observe Saturn. So enjoy looking in early throughout the night, Monday morning, Sunday night, Monday morning, and next week, and it's a good time to view Saturn. Also, notice at later in the afternoon on the 3rd at 2:50 p.m. is what we call the 3rd or the last quarter moon. Now scroll down just a little bit, Cindy. Let's get the full moon on April. Go the other way, please. Okay, hold it on right there. So you notice I said that tonight at 10:31, the full moon begins the waning gibbous phase. Now look on Monday the 3rd. The moon is now at the 3rd last quarter moon, a precise point, and guess what? The waning gibbous phase stops. And soon as we have the last quarter, what do we have? The waning crescent phase. You'll have a diagram about that eventually, probably later this afternoon, this evening, or tomorrow. I'll get those available to Cindy to put on so they can be on here for you to look at, and then also to print out as you so desire. So we have then on there the waning crescent phase. On the 5th of the month, it is called the Etta Aquarid meteor shower. All meteor showers are named based on what constellation the meteor shower seems to come out of. And in this case, well, I'll let one of you call in or text in, however you do it. Tell us all what constellation the Etta Aquarid meteor shower is coming out of. The best time to see it, here it says the peak number is 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You're not going to see any meteors at that time. You have a choice. You can either on Tuesday night through Wednesday morning look for meteor showers, meteors, or you can Wednesday evening, Thursday morning. Ideally, the best time usually to view meteor showers is from midnight to sunrise. Now, why do we have meteors and why do we have what we call meteor showers? That's another thing. Someone write in and tell us what those are. If we don't have any answers to that, Lee can let us know, and then I'll explain what they are. But I'd like for you to think of what that means. All right, let's scroll down to the next week. On the 9th of the next month, May the 9th, and if you can scroll that for us there, Cindy, you notice our first of the 9.5 constellations. Now, Warren, did you say 9.5? Yes, I did. A half of a constellation, and we'll talk about that when we get there. Anyway, this one, the 9th, on the 9th is Boötes, and his common name is the herdsman. Now, we do have the constellation page, and so, Cindy, if you don't mind, if you will bring that up. Boötes, there he is. Now you notice, oh my goodness, there's a whole slew of circles and numbers. What I did is I went through and I tried to pick out the brighter stars for Boötes, and there's a significant number of them. And as you see, there's 28. Now, of the 10 or the 9.5 constellations for May, Boötes has, and if you'll notice down there, the large circle, number 7, that is Arcturus, and that is the brightest star in Boötes. It is also the brightest star of the 9.5 constellations, and it is the brightest star in the northern hemisphere of the sky. And we'll have a time and I'll talk to you about how to find it. You can see up in the upper right-hand corner the title Ursa Major, Big Bear, and you see 3 circled big dots. Those are the end stars of what we would call the handle of the Big Bear, of actually the Big Dipper, and you would make that arc and as there, and you would start down in the sky until you come to the next bright star, and that is Arcturus. And the easy way that I remember it is on the handle of the Big Dipper. I'd go to the handle and I follow the path of it, and then I arc to Arcturus. It's just a mnemonic the way to help me to find it in the sky. So Boötes has, if you will, the brightest star of all the 9.5, and then also if we look and you see where where Arcturus is number 7, look on the chart right there and go to the left and you see a circle with a little dot and it says 22. Number 22 happens to be the closest star to us in the night sky of the 9.5 constellations. Well, how close is it? Well, it's 1.9 light years away. And you think, well, good night, that's quite a distance. Well, in space, that's not very much. But anyway, it is the closest. Now scroll up again to the second page, if you will, Cindy. And all of that information is in that list of those 28 stars. And there's other information on that. Each of the constellations that Cindy will have on the web page, you can go to it and you can copy it, download it, copy it, put it on your Word document, whatever, and print it out front, back, and you have it available for you. It's all free. Okay, let's go back to the calendar. What do we have coming up next? We had, if you see up above there on the 3rd, we had the last quarter moon, and the waning crescent phase had started. Now we're on the 11th, and we see there at 1:59, you can read that, new moon. And by the way, it is the smallest this year. Oh, where is the new moon in relation to here on Earth and the sun? Find out and give us a call, a text on that. And notice after the new moon, what do we do? We finish the waning crescent phase, and look what happens. The waxing crescent phase begins. And then there's also another time point at 9:55 in the evening. We have then what? The farthest of the Apogee Moons. Now, what do we tell? What does apogee mean? Well, it should give us a clue both of why we have a new moon, and the new moon would be telling us why it would be an apogee moon. And there's your distance there. Anyway, it's the farthest, and the farthest apogee, notice up above, it says on new moon, it's the smallest in the sky this year. Oh. Let's go on to the 13th, the equation of time. That's another thing, and you'll get another document on that in a few days. At 3 o'clock, it says it's plus 3.65 minutes. Now, what in the world does that mean? As we on Earth orbit the sun, we also go around it in 360 degrees. And just like the moon going around the Earth in an ellipse, we go around also in an ellipse. We are close to the sun a certain time of the year, and we're far from the sun a certain time of the year. The closer you get to the sun, gravity from the sun gets a greater influence on us. And what do? The Earth, we speed up. When we are far from the sun, we slow down. We keep track on our watch on our phone based on an average time, 24 hours a day for every day of the year. But that doesn't match up with what it is in the sky. So there's sometimes we are ahead of what it would be in the sky. And here you notice we're 3 and almost 2/3 minutes ahead of the time. There's another times when we're right on. And of course, there's some time when we are behind. And that's all that means. And when we get the chart put on the web page, you'll get a better understanding of that. On Friday the 14th, our sun leaves Aries the Ram, and it enters, if you will, Taurus the Bull. Let's take a look at Taurus. Oh, Sir Sin is there. Okay, here we come. Got to click over to them. Yeah. Next one should be, Did I not give you Taurus? I thought I did. If not, that's my error. Nope, my error. I did not give you Taurus. I apologize
Is
for that.
there another one that it would be close to? Another
Uh,
constellation I could open?
uh, you could, let's see, what would be close to there? Well, if you go to Well, let's just leave it that. We're going to confuse everybody if we try to get off on there. That's my apology on this, and I'll make sure. I thought I had sent that to you in there,
You may
but
have, and I may have missed it. Sorry. I'm
that's
sorry.
okay. That's okay. That's all right. Well, we have, just leave it right here in the afternoon. Also, well, that's the sun entering Taurus the Bull. That's why you don't have the constellation. We don't. So, but the constellation is on the 14th in the evening, starting at sunset, is Cercinus. You were correct. You're on it there,
Oh,
right there. And if you'll notice, there is a brown line, and underneath it, it says CTC Planetarium Southern Horizon. We can see where we are here at the planetarium. We can see everything all the way down to that line coming down from the top. So there looks like there's only one star we would be able to see right on the horizon, number 7, and the rest of Cercinus we're not going to be able to see. And Cercinus, there's nothing outstanding as far as any of the stars in there in relation to the other nine and a half constellations. So an easy way to find it, notice that great big black dot circle there in right next to Cercinus. And if you look over to the right and up above, Centaurus, that's the constellation Centaurus, Centaur there. And for those who read science fiction, that large one is Alpha Centauri. And there's a significance about Alpha Centauri for science fiction fans. And let us know what you know about that. Anyway, there's Cercinus, and you can scroll to the second page of it, Cindy, and there you'll see there's not a whole lot. There you go, it's coming. There, right there. Just 9 constellations, and there's the information on that. Okay, let's continue on, and Cercinus is called the navigator's compass. Now, let's go to the 16th. Here's a constellation most everyone is going to be familiar with. Ursa Minor, the Little Bear. Okay, let's go to that constellation, and there it is. And Ursa Minoris. Now, there are some significant stars in that, and one of them I think everybody would be familiar with. And if you notice down there at the bottom of the page, I have there in the rectangle, Northern Celestial Pole. In other words, if we went to the North Pole just outside the front door of Santa Claus's house, we would point a pole or lay on our back on the ice and look straight up, and that we would be looking at the Northern Celestial Pole. And going around it real close is a star, and it would be virtually right above us. Let's scroll down to the next page. And as you see, there it is, and I added a lot of information. And what is its name? Polaris. Now, that's Latin, and what would that mean? That's something else for anybody to write in and tell us what that means. And you go all the way through there, and Polaris is not the brightest star in the 9.5 or in the sky. Many people think it is the brightest star because it's so familiar, but no, look, if you will, in the information about Polaris, go down on it, then the third line of there, no, scroll back up in the, right there. And the sentence, the most famous single star in the night sky because of its position. It is the closest naked eye visible star to the northern celestial pole. And at the present time, it is not even 1 degree away from the North Pole, if you will, the celestial pole. It's only 39 minutes. Now, there's 60 minutes for a degree. So this is, if you want it in percent, it's just a little over a half a degree, 65% there. And notice what it's doing. Due to Earth's constant precession, that's our moving in the sky ourselves, it will be closest, and it only gets as close as just under half a degree to the North Celestial Pole in February of 2102. Now, some of you may be young enough, and you got to stay healthy if you want to see that. But anyway, after that date, it's continually moving away, and eventually, in a few more centuries, Polaris will not be the Polaris star. We will give that name to somebody, a different star. But in Ursa Minor, it's significant there that Polaris, and if you'll notice, its magnitude, its brightness is only +2. Which is pretty good. You can see it, but it's not the brightest. All right, let's go back to the calendar. And we're going, that's the little bear. And we're going to take a look here on the 17th. And we have something about planet Mercury. The reason I put that in is Mercury is the hardest, next to the hardest, of the 6 visible, naked eye visible planets to see. Uranus is the hardest. And this one is the next hardest because it's so close to the sun. So you have to have a time when Mercury is far enough from the sun that you'll be able to see it. And you know where to look. Well, we're in luck on Monday the 17th in the morning. And you want to get close to the time because Mercury is the fastest moving planet around the sun because it's the closest to the sun. It will be at what it's called the easternmost elongation, and that's another position, but it's how the greatest, that it's the farthest angular distance away from the sun. Now, I put down, I said it's best viewed after sunset because if it's easternmost, it is trailing the sun. So in the evening, after sunset on the 17th, you will get a short amount of time that you could pick out the planet Mercury. Also that night, at sunset, is the constellation. Some say Libra, I say Libra, and that's the balance scales. And like we had up earlier, pardon me, it is also an ecliptical constellation. So let's look at Libra. Libra has a bunch of stars, of course, on there also, but there are 2 of them that I want to pick out, and they have an interesting name. If you see there, in pretty well in almost just the upper middle of it, there's a circle around that black there, and it says number 12, and that star is called Zubin Escamali. And what that means is, it means northern claw, C-L-A-W. Well, that's strange. Now let's look down on the blue line, the ecliptic line, and you'll see another star labeled number 4, and that one is Zubinel Ganubi. Well, let's see. We had number 12, the Northern Claw. What would you think is the name of number 4? And why would they be called Claw? Well, it's because up until 1930, the professional astronomers worldwide got together and said, we need to survey the sky, establish boundaries for all the constellations, because up until that time, there was no definition of when does Libra begin and when does it end, when does the Scorpion begin and when does it end. And so when there was no boundary, the ancient astronomers included Zubin Escamali and Zubinel Ganubi along with the Scorpion. Make sure if you ever talk to an astronomer, you never say the constellation Scorpio. That is astrology. That is a faith-based system, and which is unreliable. And the other is the science, and that's where the constellation is called Scorpius. So on the Libra, then those two we have there, and there's information. So let's go back to the calendar and pick up time here. Now, where are we? We're going over to Wednesday the 19th, and we have our next phase, if you will, our next phase point, and the precise point, and that is the first quarter moon. Because if you can just see it up above there on the page, we just went through the new moon. So now we're in a first quarter moon. And at 2:12, right then is the first quarter moon. Right after that begins a waxing gibbous phase. Now these should begin to make sense to you. That evening, we have the constellation Lupus the Wolf. Let's take a look at it real quickly, and we'll see what we have on Lupus the Wolf. And in relation to it, if you see where Lupus is, notice Scorpius is up to the top and to the left of, we'll say, the tail of the wolf and his back leg there, the Scorpius. And we also, if you want to take the diagram that, or the lines that are connected, the wolf is looking down below with Cercinus, and also below there is the part of Centaurus, and there's Alpha Centauri, and the other one is Beta Centauri. So that'll give you some ideas of how to find Lupus the Wolf. And notice if you can scroll up a little bit on the first page, you'll see that it's below, right there, right below Libra, the balance scale, and also it's below the Scorpius. So we have that. All right, let's go on. That's Lupus. And next we have on Friday the 21st at 10 in the morning, we have planet Jupiter. Oh, it's at West Quadrature. All right, scroll up on the first page a little bit, Cindy. And we see on there that it's on the third planet. Saturn is at what? West Quadrature. Okay, let's scroll down and let's take a look. Oh, planet Jupiter is also going to be at West Quadrature. So Jupiter is trailing in the sky Saturn, and it's best here viewed before sunrise for us. Then, if you notice on the 22nd, on Saturday, when I normally would do, is we have the night sky tour here. And so I have it for some reason in May. I think there's a conflict on that. Normally it would be the 29th, but we'll get that straightened out and let you all know when we'll do the next of through the library here. Let's go on down, if you will, on the, there you go, on the 23rd. Here is on the 23rd on a Sunday at 2, planet Saturn stops in the sky. Is there? It's stationary in what is called its right ascension. That's one of its coordinates that we use to define where it is. If you think on Earth, we have latitude and longitude. So instead of saying longitude, the astronomers couldn't do that. That would be just so simple. Instead, they have to call right ascension, and that would be the longitude, if you will, in the sky. Now, we say it stops. Does Saturn really stop? No. Think of it this way, that Earth is moving faster around the sun than Saturn because we are closer to Earth than Saturn is. So Saturn is going slower as it goes around the sun. Now, think of it, you're on the interstate and you have decided you're going to pass Warren, who is in that old slow pickup, and you pass around on me. Guess what? As you would look, if you're the passenger, you're looking out the right-hand side. It looks like Warren is slowing him down, and he's almost like he's stopping. Well, that's the same thing we would get when we look at the planets. They seem to go, stop, go backwards, stop, and start up again. Well, that's very confusing. There's a Greek word for that, and you would find its English word in the Bible in the book of Jude in the 13th verse, and they are called wandering stars. You have to remember, up until the time of Galileo, when he was the one who put some glass lenses in a tube and pointed it up in the sky in around 1600, that nobody that we knew of had done that before. And so that is, in a way, we call him the father of modern astronomy here. And he began to notice, make different viewings and observations, and we began to learn things about it. And he happened to find, especially on the planet Jupiter, he saw that Jupiter had moons. Oh my, that means what has been uh, proclaimed for centuries. We got to do some difference on that. And so that all they knew, everything in the sky other than sun and moon was called the sun and the moon. Everything else is a star. You have shooting stars. We have wandering stars. And we also have the fixed stars that stay there. So that's what we have here as far as Saturn seems to have stopped because we are passing it on the celestial interstate. And then it's going to start looking like it's going backward as we go past it. Our next constellation is on the 24th, Serpens Caput. And we're going to get the page. There it is, Serpens Caput. All right. This is the half of a constellation. And you will see next month, we will be looking there at the constellation on the left called Hercules. And Hercules is called the Serpent Wrestler. He is wrestling the serpent, and half of the serpent is on one side of his body. The other half is on the other side of his body. This is the head. That's Latin, serpens, the serpent, caput, the head. The other one is serpens cauda, C-A-U-D-A, and that's the serpent's tail. Both of them make up the constellation Serpens, but there's only half of them in each different section there. So in a sense, we're seeing in May half of the constellation, and that's why we have 9.5. And Serpens caput doesn't have anything real significant about it there. And so we can go on. You can see in relation to Butes, we have another constellation we're going to get here in just a moment that is just below the Corona Borealis. And then you see down by the bottom of Serpens caput, you see the constellation of Libra, the balance scales. So that'll give you an idea where it is in the sky. So let's go on, if you will, to our next on the page. And where are we? We were on Monday the 24th. Now we go to the 25th, and we have what? The second closest of the 13 Perigee Moons. Wow, the second closest of the Perigee Moons. Remember, we had up earlier, we had in April the 27th, we had the third closest. So here's the second closest of it. This is another for the year, and that's where what it is there. And because it's close to us, it's going to give us something very significant. Look at all this information on the 26th. What does it say? A total lunar eclipse. Now, what is the relation from the sun, earth, and the moon? How do they line up? And you're going to see and why we get a lunar eclipse. So the beginning of looking at it, and there's different parts, if you will, of the shadow. There is the penumbral, which is where it's not the darkest. The umbra is the darkest, and so that will begin in the morning. You see it, and then the actual eclipse begins at 4:45 and continues, and then the total begins, and that would be the umbra, if you will, and then you have the full moon right then, and it begins the waning gibbous phase. And then as the moon continues on and Earth continues on in our movement, the shadow of Earth is changing as we can see it on the moon, and you see there as it goes until it ends. What's different about a lunar eclipse, notice it takes a long time. The total solar eclipse, the maximum amount of time that can happen on Earth is a little over 7 minutes. We're going to get on Monday, April the 8th of 2024, a little over 4.5 minutes. So we'll be doing good there. Let's go to the 28th. And we have Corona Borealis. Now, we'll go to there. There you are. Corona Borealis is Latin. What would corona mean? And what would be Borealis? Again, Latin. Well, the answer, of course, is if you scrolled up on the page, it's going to tell you what it means. So scroll up on the page, on the other one, way to the top. Keep going right there. And what does it say? Northern crown. Borealis is north or northern. And of course, corona is crown. And we'll see as we go on down there, there's the constellation of the crown. You notice to its right, as we see there, there's Butes, and we have right there down below Serpent's caput. Remember, half of the serpent, and the Hercules, the serpent wrestler, is wrestling with the serpent to prevent the serpent from reaching up and getting the crown. The serpent does not deserve the crown. Okay, now on Serpent's caput, there we have, scroll down on the list of the names of the stars. There's a few of them there on that. And you'll notice down there, you see number 13, Epsilon. Okay, then right underneath it is an information about something that happened. And it's called the letter capital T, Coronae Borealis, May the 12th, 1866, a nova, new star, suddenly flared up near Epsilon, reached second magnitude, remained visible in the naked eye for 8 nights back then. And it's been given that. It also has a commonly known name as the Blaze star, the most famous example of a recurring nova. It brightened again to third magnitude, which is naked eye visible, in 1946. So anyway, there's different information about that we have. Okay, let's go back to, if you will, to the calendar, the 29th. We're going to have 2 constellations here. Norma, the Carpenter's Square. You see that listed. So let's take a look at Norma. And here it is, Norma. And you see which we have, that all of it is going to be above our southern horizon. It's relatively dim, Norma is. And in fact, let me see here, Norma, if you'll see, where is number 2? See the line that goes across that says minus 50 degrees? And if you start from over on the right, and that's the first little star there, number 2, a small star, and it is the dimmest star of all the 9.5 constellations we're looking at in May. And then also, if you will look over to the upper left of Norma, the white part, you see number 25. Number 25, all it has is a Latin name, Mu Normae, and what's significant about it, it is the farthest star of all the 9.5 constellations, and it's 5,500 light years away. So you would go back 3,000 plus BC for when the light from that star left the surface of the star, traveling through space for 5,500 years. Then that night you go out to look, those photons will come and enter your eyeball, and you will be able to see Mu right there that way. So that's the farthest of the 9.5. Now, our next constellation, let's take a look at. and that is Triangulum Australia. And it means the southern triangle. Well, we learned earlier, Borealis means north, Australia means south. So that's how the continent, the European continent, named the continent Australia as Australia, means south. Let's take a look at Triangulum Australia. Now, notice here, what's right above it? Right above it is Norma. There it is. And then you see there's Circinus. And then over to the right there is Centaurus. So we have a lot of all gathered there for us to take a look at. Triangulum Australia, and it has, and if you look on there, and you will see the green letter CVP. That stands for Central Viewing Point. That's where that cross is. But look just below CVP, you see a circle with the number 11 and a little bitty star there. That is number 11. And they ran out of Greek letters and everything else, so they gave it a license plate number. It's HD 145689. Anyway, it happens to be, that is the dimmest star of the 9.5 constellations. Now, wait a minute, Warren. You said earlier that in Norma was the dimmest. Well, there are 3 of them have the same. They are all 3 the dimmest at plus 5.94. Plus 6 normally is considered for the average person the limit of naked eye visibility in the of stars or objects in the sky. And for a certain reason, the greater the positive number, the dimmer the stars, the objects are. So you're reaching the very end of the limit of being able to see it. In other words, you're not going to see it naked eye visible if you are close to a city or anywhere where there is additional light. And if the moon is up, forget it, you're not going to see it. You have to be on a completely dark night and nothing else as far as any what we would call dark sky pollution, night sky pollution. So that's Triangulum Australia, and on there, and so we have that. Now let's go to back to the calendar, and we have 9 o'clock. Planet Mercury is just like we saw earlier over, if you'll notice, over on Monday the 23rd. There, that planet Saturn was stationary. Well, planet Mercury does the same thing. It's also stationary, and then it starts going in a different direction in relation to us. Let's go down to the last week, there. And over there, we're going to have the final constellation is Apis or Apis, depending on how you pronounce it, the bird of paradise. And let's go and look at that one. Now, notice where, and scroll up just a little bit more. There, right there, that's good. Notice where the southern horizon is. I did not point it out, but we cannot see anything of Triangulum Australia, and we cannot see anything of Apis or Apis, the bird of paradise. But they would be, if you wanted to go way down south, you would be able to see them there. And Apis there has a few significant stars of the different ones. It's also, if you see there the green cross, and look to the right end of it. There's a dot, and there's the circle for 9. And that one is also tied with the other two. That's the dimmest star of in the 9.5 constellations. And then if you look down just below the cross, there's an 11 and a circle for there. That is Delta 1, and that is the largest star of in the 9.5. It is 215 times larger than our sun. And so that's what's on there. And I failed to tell you that in Boötes, the one that we first looked at, in there is the smallest of all the stars, and it's not even as large as our sun. So let's go back to the calendar page. That should be pretty close to it. And if you'll notice that into June, then we continue on with our phases of the moon. We get to the third quarter, the last quarter moon, and begins its waning crescent phase. Okay. Any questions that have come in, or has anyone given answers to some of those things I asked about? Lee,
There are
do
no
we have
questions on
anybody that's
Facebook
done
or
any of
answers at
those?
this time. No.
Okay, not there. Okay, well, let's go to the calendar real quick and I'll answer the questions. All right, so let's see there. The waning gibbous phase. There, waning is the old English term. Waning, it's decreasing. Warren's health is waning. Okay, you see. And gibbous is also Latin there, and gibbous means hump, H-U-M-P. What animal would we use to describe a hump? A camel. Okay, there are two I don't know, what do you want to call them, races or whatever, two types of camels. There's the Bactrian and the Dromedary. Which one has one hump and which one has two humps?
I don't know, it's
Easy
50-50.
way to think, to figure this out. Take the camel and make him stand up against the wall. Okay? And you will make there with the Bactrian, you will look on it and you will see there are two humps. And you can on the Bactrian, and it starts with the letter B. That's
Oh,
B.
okay.
Okay, now the Dromedary, you have it
Has
stand up. And how
D,
many humps does it have?
1.
One, because the capital letter D only has one hump. Another
Right.
mnemonic device to help Warren with his lazy sieve kind of brain that leaks everything he ever thought he knew. I have to rely on things to help out. Okay, apogee, perigee. Apogee means the farthest. Perigee means the closest. Whatever we had, waning crescent. The Etta Aquarid, that meteor shower is coming out of the constellation of Aquarius, the water carrier.
Oh, okay.
Okay. What else did we have down there? The new moon. It's the smallest this year because you look on the page on the 11th there, it's the farthest away. When something is farther away from Earth, it looks smaller in the sky. And so you want, for a solar eclipse, you want the moon to be close. You want a perigee. If you have an apogee moon for a solar eclipse, you will get what is called an annular, ANNULAR, and you will have the shadow of the moon centered on the sun, and there will be, the sun is still large enough that you would have a ring all the way around on the shadow of the moon, and it looks like a ring, a golden ring. What else? I think that's pretty well it. I have 1 o'clock. So there you are.
Well, and Warren, thank you again. Remember, we put the link in the comments. Warren has his calendars, his constellation maps. The Mayborn Science Theater information is on this website. And we also have really nifty resources that we've put in the LibGuide. So, keep this URL in your pocket, because we'll be adding all kinds of fun things from Warren. And Warren, I just want to say thank you again. You're just a wealth of information all the time, and we truly appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about our night sky. So everybody, I know sometimes it's hard to see the stars here in Killeen. So, take a trip a little bit ways away from the big cities into the country, and stop somewhere safe and look up. It's totally amazing. When you can
Okay.
see satellites with your naked eye and you can see meteors, it's just unbelievable.
Let me mention, there is a Girl Scout troop that the leader called up, and we have scheduled on Saturday, May the 8th, the second Saturday of the month, over here at Morgan's Point Resort down at the park, Outlook Park. It's starting just before sunset. They're coming, and I'm going to go out, and with my laser, we'll point out the different constellations that we can see in the night sky there. If people want to write in to you, Cindy, and ask for information, you can pass that on to me, and I can give them a map on how to get there. It's free, of course, and if you want to come, you're welcome. You want to get there before sunset, bring your lawn chair or a blanket to lay down on, and we'll have a good time.
Okay,
Okay.
and you can put, Lee, if you'd like to put reference request at ctcd.edu in the comments. That's the email that you can go ahead and contact us at the library, and we'll go ahead and get you directions to that. Well, thank you so much. We're enjoying our science week, and we have another science event tomorrow at noon. This will be Cretaceous, Texas, and Dr. Daniel Wiegert, who is I get geology and geography, geology geology professor, that will be showing us all the fossils and rocks that you can find here in Texas. So make sure that you join us tomorrow at noon, same place, and we will see you tomorrow. Thanks again, Warren. Thank you,
You're
Lee.
welcome.
And you guys have an awesome day today. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.